Well, I'll be damned. Hey, Court, while I got you on the line, give me your long story short on the Royal Rumble last night.
Well, I look at that Royal Rumble, and that world title match was fantastic. It was on its own one of the best matches I've seen in a while. I thought it was a real coming-out match for Seth Rollins, big statement match for him. I think he's a little bit HBK, a little bit CM Punk, a little bit Jeff Hardy mixed into one real great package, and he's definitely looking good for the future. They have to make some adjustments on Roman Reigns. Where they go, don't know. I think a day like today here in the Northeast where I'm looking out the window, and it's white. And we got blizzard-like conditions already. And Vince McMahon's by himself, probably in solitary confinement, thinking about last night, thinking about, he's a perfectionist, as you know, thinking about the future. And whether he's by himself or with his family or with his inner circle, he's either going to double down on this push or he's going to blow it up or maybe give it a twist. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does one of those three things. And now he's got this block of time where he's sitting there like a tiger in a cage just going back and forth thinking about it. And we may not see what's going to go down on SmackDown live on Thursday night on Sci-Fi, but by next Monday night, it'll be very interesting to see what direction he takes because he's got this downtime. He's frustrated. Raw's canceled. Last night wasn't probably how he envisioned it with The Rock coming in, Roman Reigns, and giving him that rub, I guess, as he planned it. And we'll see where he takes us. So, he sometimes adjusts, sometimes he's stubborn, and sometimes he just hits the red button and blows the whole thing up. So I'm curious to see where he goes.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. And do you just flat out, turn heel because of the frustration? Someone brought up, and I read this email later in the podcast, but, people hated The Rock before they loved The Rock. And I think, maybe the people feel that, Roman Reigns has been shoved down their throat and, he hasn't paid enough dues or hasn't stepped up his game enough to warrant being pushed down their throat. So, at some point, you're going to have to improvise, adapt, and overcome. But certainly you felt for the kid when he was trying to get the glory at the end, pointed the WrestleMania sign, and that Philly crowd was just brutal.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking the Philly crowd. I'm just saying they're responding. That was how they felt. They didn't like what they were seeing, and that it might not have been as severe of a reaction in any other arena, but by and large, for the most part, it would have been the same reaction I feel in any other arena.
Well, Vince McMahon's a brilliant genius when it comes to promoting. There's no doubt about it. The guy knows it, and he had to know there was apprehension about Roman Reigns before last night, before the Royal Rumble. And you got to look and say, hey, you're going into Philly, where they're just going to go against the grain no matter what. And I think that's where The Rock was supposed to be a Band-Aid, but you still got a problem that you need to diagnose and correct, and a Band-Aid's not going to do it. It really just that gets you past maybe Sunday in your best-case scenario, but doesn't help you 2 weeks from now. And that's something they got to really look at when they assess what they do next with Roman Reigns. And I think, they've devalued him right now. And now they got to really think about not just WrestleMania and that instant gratification of making him your anointed next generation top babyface, but really say, listen, we got to reassess everything. And maybe that's WrestleMania 32. Maybe it's a different situation. But right now they're artificially pushing this guy who's very talented, has a lot going for him, but it's an artificial push to the top. It's not an organic one like we saw with your ascension as a babyface, but originally as a heel. Or Bret Hart, or Shawn Michaels. All these guys have to feel organic, and right now he's making John Cena's ascension, which felt actually more organic back in 2005 at WrestleMania 21. That felt more organic because at WrestleMania 21 in Staples Center, he was over huge. Now, going into WrestleMania 31, if Roman Reigns is the challenger, the babyface against the heel, I don't think he's going to get cheered.
Right, I don't think he is. I think Brock's going to be the babyface. Did you get a sense, before we wrap this thing up, Court, on the open of my show, did you get a sense of frustration out of The Rock when he held up Roman Reigns' hands at the end, the look in his eyes? He was gauging that crowd, and, of course, when The Rock came out, he blew the roof off the place. But when he held up that hand and those boos started cascading down, I felt for Roman Reigns, but I could see in Rock's eyes that he couldn't believe what he was hearing.
Yeah, he registered it, and then in the aftermath show, or whatever they call it, the wrap-up show afterwards, they did a live promo backstage with Rock and Roman. And he was trying to just get his mojo going, but you could tell his rhythm was just off. And they didn't clear the set because you could hear fans kind of heckling in the background, and that was throwing him off more. And so he's trying to play off of that, but it was just it wasn't the right. He just couldn't get his rhythm right. And then meanwhile, Roman Reigns is sitting there like he's a Make-A-Wish kid looking up at The Rock, and I have all the respect for Roman Reigns. I'm not trying to say anything negative, but he's just looking up like that's my big hero. And this is supposed to be your hero. They should be at the same level. That's the purpose of a rub.
Well, I thought at that time, I really thought that time Roman Reigns didn't know whether crap or wine is watch, and I thought the person that could have really helped that promo, because the promo didn't work at any level, and I thought at the very least the person to conduct that interview was Renee Young, who's so smooth and just her whole approach. And I'm not running down the guy that did the interview, but the chemistry wasn't there at all. The interview was ill-timed and really should not have happened. But I think they were trying to save a little more face and get a little rhythm going, but both guys just could bob.